What is up, guys? TekTale here, Beats Clan Live, bringing you another episode of TekTale Tuesdays, the segment where I tell you guys a tale, and you guys sit down and listen to my story. Alright, so in this episode of TekTale Tuesdays, we're going to be getting into some nice action scenes here. Well, you know, you can think about it in your mind. Alright, so in this episode, where we left off was, you know, back with Blitzstreak and the whole Rebel Force getting together with Gear Flow and everything. So in this episode, Blitzstreak gets this Rebel Force together, and they pretty much make a nice cozy home for all of them. And Gearflow, he's kind of a bit of a, you know, he since he's an engineer, he likes to build things and tinker with things and just make little fun experiments. Well, he was thinking, you know, since we're gonna overthrow Megatron, we need weapons. And he said, you know, he's always had this idea of making these different weapons and just crazy stuff. And he realizes, you know, that a lot of his friends aren't really fighters. But they are pretty strong because, you know, they lift heavy machinery and stuff and all that other stuff. So he thought, you know, we can give them big guns and all this other stuff and just a bunch of things to help defend them. So I kind of think, in a way, Gearflow is kind of like a shockwave in a way, just because he's a scientist, he's building stuff. Well, I mean, he's, you know, Shockwave's a scientist, Gearflow's an engineer, but they like building stuff and making experiments. And Gearflow's really, you know, creative with these things that he makes. And one of the first things he makes and has a lot of fun making is the shock grenade. Now, as you guys know, when you play Fall of Cybertron, the Tech Vault can, when you kill somebody, how they kind of like, they start freaking out and stuff, and then they explode because all the electricity going through their body. Well, he does this, and he makes these grenades. And what they're going to do is they're going to stun them. Sometimes they'll kill them, you know, depending on like the high voltage or whatever. Some of them are just used to stun so they can get out of there, or stun and just, you know, counterattack or whatever. Some are just used to kill. So that's one of his first things that he makes. Now, while he's doing this, Stealth Fang and Blitzstreak get together, and she's sitting there scouting out the area for the Decepticon base. And while she's doing this, you know, she lets Blitzstreak know, okay, you're good to go. So he's going through the base, and he's trying to find out, you know, Megatron is on this search for this dark energon, and I need to find out what it is. So he needs to, like, stay really, really close to Megatron without Megatron knowing. And in the book Transformers Exodus, Megatron does find this dark energon. He takes these shards, and he has two of Starscream's, I guess you would call them minions. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Starscream's minions or foot soldiers or whatever. Well, he injects this dark energon shard into each of them, and they just go completely nuts. And they start freaking out, and they attack everybody, doesn't care who it is, and they start attacking, and then they attack Megatron, and Megatron's just like, oh, no, and he punches him in the face and everything. So what I thought about was Blitzstreak is there in this scene, even though he's not really there, because he's, you know, my made-up character. So he sees this happening, and he's cloaked and stuff, so he can't be, you know, sensed around by other people. And he's just like, oh my god, he's like, this is, like, ridiculous. He said the Decepticons are now going to be like barbarians, just the way they're acting with this dark energon in them. And he sees how it really boosts their power by, like, a lot. And then he sees Megatron inject himself, and Megatron, he takes it like a champ. Like, when I read this in the book, like, at first he was just kind of a little bit overwhelmed by it, but then, like, he took a few deep breaths or whatever he did, and he was just like, he's in full control. And when people have this Dark Energon, they have the urge to just kill. It's just this overwhelming urge to kill, but Megatron can control it, but at the same time, he sometimes gets carried away when, he really does want to kill people. And he's ruthless and relentless. So Blitzstreak sees this, and he reports it back to his rebel fleet, and Stealth Fang saw because, she had the cameras and everything there. So he informs all of them about this, and he's like, okay, look, I don't think these shock grenades are going to be enough. It'll probably stun them for a few seconds, gear flow, but we got to do something. And what they do is the dimensional decimator that is in the story mode of Fall of Cybertron, I am making it to where gear flow made that, because I really like that weapon in the story mode. It was just really awesome. So Gearflow, he does that, and he makes that. He makes all these weapons and everything. He's like pretty much the awesome scientist. He's kind of like a medic too, because we'll get to that in a few minutes. Alright. So they suit up. He kind of puts, I guess, some type of armor on this rebel force, and he makes some stuff to where it'll kind of protect them. They have their grenades, they have their dimensional decimators, they have, their own weaponry and everything, their battle pistols and all this other stuff. They don't have the best of best weaponry because, they're, I guess you would kind of say they're poor, but, they made with what they had. So the Autobots and Decepticons are fighting, and they think this is the perfect time to maybe, in a way, help out the Autobots and take down the Decepticons without really the Decepticons knowing. So the Autobots and Decepticons are fighting, and this is kind of I don't know, I kind of mixed my character in with a lot of stories and stuff, and I kind of like switch it up a bit because, once again, back to Transformers Exodus in the book. Sorry for the spoiler alerts, guys, but it's not too much of a spoiler alert. It's just fight scenes. So there's one scene where the Autobots and Decepticons are fighting, and this is right after the Decepticons injected themselves with the Dark Energon, and they're both trying to find this item, which I'm not going to tell you guys because, if you want to find out, just go read the book. Well, they're trying to find this item to help sway the tide in the war of who's going to win and everything. Well, as they're fighting, Blitzstreak and his rebel fleet go there, and they're helping out the Autobots without the Autobots knowing. They're working undercover, and they're taking out some of these Decepticons, and it's crazy how overwhelming their power is. Gearflow's fighting alongside with everybody. He's throwing the shock grenades, and he shocks this one guy, and the dude's like, he kind of like, not really levitates in the air, but kind of like a little bit the way in Fall of Cybertron when you die with the Tech Vault, and he's kind of like that. And then Gearflow goes and he does his work. He loosens some nuts and bolts and everything, and his Dark Energon Decepticon starts chasing him, and all of a sudden his legs start falling off and everything starts falling apart till all that's left is one arm, his torso, and his head. And Gearflow's about to strike, but this dude's not giving up. He's swinging and everything. He pulls out a gun and he's shooting at him and stuff. He's just not giving up. So what he has to do is he just has to sit there, and he kills him and everything with the battle pistol. But I just thought that was kind of a cool scene that I thought in my head as Gearflow and this Dark Energon Decepticon guy is fighting. Okay, so as the Decepticons are fighting the Autobots, they're kind of having the upper hand against them just because they're completely overpowering them. Well, Megatron's fighting Optimus, of course, and Blitzstreak sees his move and he takes it. Right after Megatron hits Optimus, Optimus falls into like this, I guess, kind of crevice, canyon, whatever you want to call it, and Blitzstreak tackles Megatron and everything. And after he tackles him, he's beating the crap out of him, and Megatron just throws him off like he's nothing, just because he has his Dark Energon in him, and he's completely overpowered, and it's just ridiculous. So as they're fighting, Blitzstreak realizes, I can't do this by myself. This is too hard for me to do by myself. A long time ago, maybe I could have beaten Megatron, but right now it is impossible. So the Decepticons surround Blitzstreak, and they decide that they are going to take Blitzstreak in and hold him captive. And they do that. And everybody else, he tells his team, because they have kind of a communicator thing as well. I forgot to mention that, but Gearflow made that as well, so they can all communicate. He tells them, go back to the base. Go back to the base, run, don't turn back, I'll be fine. So they all go. Stealth Fang is just kind of torn up and just being like, no, I want to help. But he says, no, I can't let you get captured too, because I don't know what could happen to you guys. It's best because I have a better chance of getting out of there, just because of how evasive and everything, and I wouldn't want to chance you guys dying trying to save me. So he tells them to go back to the base. They do as they're told. And that's pretty much where this episode's going to end. There was one last thing I did forget to tell you guys about. As they're fighting these Decepticons that have this Dark Energon in them, some of them are being torn apart. Some of them lose some legs and lose some arms. Well, Gearflow goes over there, does his little medic roll, and he patches them up. There's some Autobots that, sadly have died. So he takes their arms, their weapons, and he re-equips it back to the Rebel fleet of Blitzstreak. But I'm going to leave you guys with another cliffhanger as Blitzstreak gets taken in to the Decepticon base, and you guys will have to wait till next TekTale Tuesdays to find out what happens to him. So please leave a like, leave a comment. I love you guys to leave feedback. I always look forward to it, especially on TekTale Tuesdays. I know I say this every TekTale Tuesday. But tell your friends, tell your grandparents, tell your parents, your brothers, your sisters, everybody. Come subscribe to Beats Clan Live and stay up to beat with us. But I will see you guys on the next episode of TekTale Tuesdays. But until then, Tek Knight 2 is